how can you not wake up every day and be excited, even though, the risks are high and the challenges are high and there's a lot of hurdles. It's like it is so worth it to keep pushing for it, because not pushing for it, will always leave you wondering what could be.
Okay, guys, so first we'll be talking about the Maiar Exchange. In terms of what the Elrond team has promised to build regarding the Maiar Exchange, how happy are you with its performance so far?
Yeah, so as a software engineer with 10 years of experience and being involved in the financial markets for the last 18 plus years, I feel like I have a unique perspective. I understand that Elrond initially had a goal of having the DEX available sooner in 2021, and then the team's decision to take more time to innovate and think through the unique features was not only a huge pivotal moment for Elrond, but I think in hindsight, it will become the standard for bootstrapping a decentralized exchange. Elrond made the wise decision with the long term in mind, but the extra engineering time to build LockedMex or LKMex as an NFT instead of simply doing what other DEXs have done, I think is deeply underappreciated. The team's ability to make the right decision today, even if it stands to be unpopular with short-term users, there is no shortage of that mindset in crypto. Even if you observe crypto Twitter, the wise mindset would be to consider the long term and what it transforms the industry from a minimal viable product, in my perspective, to a transformational product used by the millions and billions as part of what the Maiar Exchange is setting out to do. And one of those features with LockedMex is when you look at many decentralized exchanges, the challenge is balancing short-term, medium-term, and long-term objectives while understanding the human psychology of the crypto participants. And so Elrond's team is deeply considering this and showing the capacity to quickly adapt in a mindful way when understanding more information. Many other DEXs on the chains started to suffer from short-term incentive structures. The short-term participants would come in and take all the rewards and sell them off daily and then leave, and the price would be decimated. This incentive structure doesn't work when you are building a sustainable and thriving DEX for the next billion users. The team quickly adjusted to 90% of the rewards going to long-term holders and 10% to short-term. And these essential pieces provide the team provide time for the team to continue to add more utility and finish the execution of the Ethereum Elrond bridge. So I would give them an A+. The team is deeply thinking about not only the technical software implementation, but the viability as a financial utility. I had tweeted about this innovation of LockedMex, not only greatly enhancing the proper incentive structure to the users, but protecting users from their own short-term impulses, which negatively impacts their future self. Nobody would look at their 5-year-old child and say, "You reached your potential." Elrond is setting an entire new standard, which is hard for some to see because human nature is to compare everything to what has come before.
Well, just to add on that, I mean, if you're part of the Elrond community since a while, we always refer to day one. And seeing the performance of Elrond in the last years, it's just groundbreaking. I've been in the crypto space for over 5 years and I've seen many projects come and go. But what this team accomplishes day after day is incredible. In addition, we have had a very good personal relationship with Elrond for several years and have the highest level of trust, which naturally encourages us to rely on this technology. But the performance that we see within the Elrond team and the growth, maybe some remember even from 2021, the hyper growth, the 100-day marathon we had Mission 10, and so many things in the pipeline. And then you see the market out there, everything super undervalued at the moment. But as we said, it's day one. We are building, we are delivering, the community is building, lots of partners are doing so. So many things to come.
Speaking of things to come, Wolfgang, where do you see the utility of the Max token in the coming months and maybe even years?
That's a good question. Max is just at the beginning. So Maiar Exchange has an incredible performance. May sound strange, but as I said, at Elrond, the typical day one, we are with Elrond now since a couple of years, and Maiar Exchange just started last year with the Max token and the LK Max, talking about utility. There are many, many things to come. We are now starting with the Metabonding snapshots. Several projects are in the pipeline, and this will bring a lot of transactions to the blockchain, many more partners. That's, I guess, one of the big questions everybody in the community has. There is a huge ecosystem around Elrond, and everybody is asking, when are these guys moving from other chains to use the Elrond blockchain, and when do they have their ESDT? Are they all joining the Metabonding program now? We will see. I can just say many of them are getting prepared, and Max, the Maiar Exchange, and the Metabonding program is right at the beginning.
Yeah, so to add to that, the way I look at it is Elrond's vision is building a high bandwidth digital financial system open to anyone, anywhere. And as Benny would say, jailbreaking the simulation. EGLD or EGLD is the asset that powers all the activity on the Elrond blockchain, and MEX is the token that powers the financial services. And traditional banking is dominated by only a few players in most parts of the world, creating limited competition, high fees, sky-high interest rates, opaque lending practices, and corruption benefiting few families and groups. There's a new term called neobank, which is a digital bank offering a super app of financial services where all your financial needs are met in one mobile-friendly app. These can be personal accounts, credit cards, investments, mobile payments, business accounts, personal loans, insurance, etc. The largest neobank in the space is Nubank, which is a Brazilian neobank and the largest fintech bank in Latin America. They launched in Brazil and expanded to Colombia and Mexico. In 2016, they had 1.3 million users. And towards the end of last year in 2021, they had 48 million users, which is insane growth. The new bank also had its initial public offering, which is an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange in December of 2021 at a valuation of $41.5 billion. Another interesting piece of that is Warren Buffett bought in at 25 billion valuation, and ARK Invest, which is famous for investing in disruptive innovation technology, also is synonymous with Cathie Woods, bought in at a 45 billion valuation. So why does this matter? Well, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have had large investments in the banking industry. Do you think they feel their monopoly business is feeling threatened? To say they feel threatened with the innovation of crypto is an understatement. Charlie Munger is on record saying, "I wish they had never been invented," when he was referring to cryptocurrency. Warren Buffett says Bitcoin is probably rat poison squared. From my perspective, it reminds me of the quote, "Don't listen to what the people say, watch what they do." Warren and Cathie Woods invested in Nubank because they realized neobanks are the future of banking. And Elrond is so uniquely positioned to be the most user-friendly and advanced neobank. There's no neobank that is running on the blockchain, yet alone a highly secure, highly scalable blockchain. Elrond will be able to offer what no other neobank will be able to offer, truly revolutionizing money and financial services for all, while also allowing everyone or anyone to participate in this value creation. There's a TED Talk on YouTube by Bill Gross, and he talks about the factors that most impact the success of a startup company. And he analyzed hundreds of different companies, and the results are really fascinating. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. And the 5 essential elements that lead to success are ideas, team, business model, and then funding and timing. So what was the most important factor that led to success? Well, the number one thing was timing. It accounted for 42% of the difference between success or failure. And number two was team and execution. Number three, or team and execution, and that had a 32% impact. And then the other was the business model, which had a 24%, and then funding was 14%. So if you look at Elrond, it has the best team in crypto and the best community, and the timing on becoming a neobank on the blockchain couldn't be any better. They will blaze an entire new path and truly change money and financial services in a transparent, open, innovative way that we haven't seen yet. When you piece together all these things Elrond is doing, it's hard not to get really excited, especially when you realize what this is all leading to.
I think last year's biggest upset within the Elrond network and the true peak of its performance last year was holoride coming to the Maiar Exchange. There's been an ongoing discussion about how artists and creators can be compensated fairly and more easily, and most importantly, maybe more reliably for their work. According to holoride, this is one of the many reasons why the Elrond blockchain is the best choice to go for as a company, which relies heavily on NFTs. What's your take on this aspect of the Elrond blockchain?
Yeah. So for me to understand the benefits of NFTs on the Elrond blockchain versus other alternatives in other blockchains, for example, Ethereum, it helps to understand the benefits of the architecture. Elrond tokens, which include NFTs, are built into the protocol and not smart contracts. This greatly enhances the user experience for not only users, but for developers, artists, creators. Anyone can create beautiful user interfaces with all the user NFTs. While this sounds simple in nature, this is not possible when NFTs are stored in smart contracts. There's no way to easily identify all the NFT assets owned by a user wallet. This architecture is also much more efficient for minting, transferring, and doing any related operation with the NFT. This means far less gas costs and very fast transfer experience. Scams are also been a huge pain point for adoption of NFTs. When NFTs are smart contracts instead of the user, there have been multiple instances where hackers have created backdoors to users, stealing their NFTs and draining their wallets. Elrond uses true ownership of NFTs at the account level. Artists and creators want to have a seamless and secure experience for their users so they can focus on what truly matters, which is creating. Secondary royalties with NFTs are such a critical piece for artists. This allows them to create work and to be compensated for it, while users who purchase their work are also compensated. It's a win-win. If you analyze the Beanie Babies frenzy, there are a few interesting pieces. For one, they were the world's first internet sensation. Supporters bought these Beanie Babies for $5 and they would resell for thousands of dollars on the secondary market. Ty Warner was the creator of these collectibles. It was estimated at one time 1 in 3 Americans had a Beanie Baby in their house. And in December 1999, Ty Warner, the largest, 1999, said all his beanies would be retired. But why? Ty Warner was constantly filing lawsuits against his fans and largest supporters. He was upset that all this money was being generated from his creations, but he was no longer tied to those sales in the secondary market. He literally killed his own collectible collection because it wasn't a win-win any longer. And he was constantly trying to generate scarcity on the primary market, and collectors became turned off. Beanie Baby collectors and Ty Warner could still be thriving today if only he could have issued NFTs on the Elrond blockchain and each Beanie Baby, and he would have seen his collectors and fans and his biggest asset. He would have seen his biggest as assets and not thieves, and not have created so many lawsuits. NFTs on Elrond create a win-win for artists and on both the primary and secondary market. A whole new relationship with their fans is possible now.
Yeah, I think with holoride, these guys are leading by example. And I think with convincing holoride to build on Elrond, of course, they were looking at other solutions as well, and everything had to be discussed with Audi and other partners that are supporting the project, and they are on the right path. And we were talking about all these arguments, royalties for the creators, and low transaction fees, the linear scalability of the Elrond blockchain. All these things convinced them to build on Elrond, and even now they are leading this by example in terms of growth. I mean, the listing on the Maiar Exchange was phenomenal. I think everybody remembers that. But the good thing with holoride is they have a huge network of partners, and it's not only in the automotive market, it's also in the entertainment industry, in the gaming industry. And if you imagine that these partners are working with holoride, building things that at the end of the day will land on the Elrond blockchain, this is incredible. Somebody cannot think of what this will actually mean to valuation at the end of the day. But same as with Elrond, it's sometimes hard for the community to understand because there are so many puzzle pieces. And if you don't zoom out, you can't see the whole picture. And we see those individual pieces on the Elrond side, for example, with Twispay, with Utrust, with many other partners. We're talking about connectivity to the banking system. We're talking about e-money license. We're talking about Maiar credit card, and so on. And on top of that, we have partners, projects like holoride, with a huge network of partners in the industry, and they are all building on this technology. And that's amazing. It's amazing to be part of that journey.
Maybe we should briefly touch on the holoride listing, which you've already mentioned. Ever since the listing, there's been an ongoing discussion about limiting bots, making sure that individuals have a certain limit that they can buy in. What's your personal opinion on this? Should there be some sort of regulation on Elrond's side for the next token listings, or should it be a free market? Maybe Wolfgang, let's start with you.
Thank you. Well, we've seen that. We've seen what happened, and I've told a lot of people that they have to be careful, because at the end of the day, if you're the user clicking with your mouse in the user interface, you've actually already lost, because you don't know your enemy. Yeah. And your enemy is the guy that is able to build tools, write scripts, have bots, has the know-how of how things work on the Elrond blockchain. And we've seen that the network has been flooded with transactions, and blocks were filled with data, and we had congestion there. And yeah, that's how it works, but it's decentralized. And how can you regulate that? That's a very good question. I mean, right now there is no governments yet on the network. We are all waiting for phase 4. There will definitely be some improvements in the coming month. But as we all know, Elrond, it's all about the community. And we've seen what they have done. I mean, those guys have been tracked. It's public information. We know who was scripting there, using bots and doing all that stuff that ended up in pumping, and at the end of the day, dumping the price. That is something that happens on every blockchain, at every listing, and you can only get yourself prepared for this. I mean, it's about liquidity, it's about know-how, how to use the different tools, and so on. But our job, and the Kress twins are also doing this on a daily basis, it's all about education. We are here to inform the community about the technology and tell them what is possible. And yeah, it's quite hard to advise every single person, and it's their money, it's their action, and it's their responsibility at the end of the day. We are here to support. The Elrond Warriors are there to support. A lot of projects out there, partners of Elrond are there to support, but you cannot save everyone at the end of the day.
Michael, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so for me, the ride listing was an experience and obviously a learning one for everybody. It was also another confirmation of how the Elrond team puts the user first and will go above and beyond to try to make sure things are right. There was so much excitement around Ride and how they were providing a platform for creators and artists in really an agnostic way. I know, of course, Audi is the first brand, but there's going to be, they're not tied to a particular car brand. It's going to be possibly integrated into, all car manufacturers to create a truly unique experience and share in that value creation and unique experiences. So for me, I'm continuously looking at innovating in ways that Elrond can provide value sharing in a way that's fair for all users. And to me, you do this by continuously observing incentive structures and making sure users that have a medium and long-term mindset get the largest benefit and rewards. The listing process had such a high level of demand, and it was a very low market cap. I don't think blocking bots is the solution. Solving the incentive structure so that users with a short-term mindset don't get to capitalize in such an easy way is key. And for me, if you imagine the users that bought millions of those tokens and had to hold them for a certain period of time, would they have done the same if they were, had to hold them longer? And it's unlikely that they would take that same level of risk because their incentive was, they buy them, make a quick buck, and immediately sell them. But at the end of the day, as Wolfgang was touching upon, the main thing that we have to do is continue to empower everybody with education and tools so that they can make the best decision. You don't want people protecting you. You want people to empower you through education so that you can become self-sufficient and, make the best decision for you and have all those factors. I think for a lot of people, this was a new experience because you're intermixing financial markets and a blockchain technology, but it's decentralized. And if you understand all the pieces at play, you can make the best decision, and ultimately people will be much happier with the experience.
Moving on to what I think will be the next big thing for the Elrond Network and certainly the Maiar Exchange. The Metabonding is about to go live on the DEX. And so, Michael, what are your expectations for this new way of onboarding new startups and, including them in the Elrond Network?
Yeah. When I look at it, crypto to me is software plus communities. And Metabonding is a brilliant way for the incredibly strong community of Elrond to be part of Web3 projects building on Elrond. It is truly a win-win for both the project and the community. Value sharing is this way has not been done on any other network that I'm aware of, and it truly supercharges the growth of the projects by aligning interests. The world has seen how valuable proprietary software can become. Crypto is unique in that it is open source, and community plays a very critical role in the adoption and future value of the software and project. Building a community is such a critical part of a successful Web3 project being successful. It's not just any community though. You want a community that shares in values that will help your project thrive. Elrond has been instilling these values since the beginning. For projects to be able to be part of the community, not only does it supercharge the project, it sets a standard of core values and principles practiced by Elrond for every project to follow. Metabonding not only adds utility to MEX and locked MEX, and in this case, it is locked MEX, but there is now a feature on the exchange. You can turn your MEX into locked MEX, It also adds a lot of utility for those securing the network through e-gold staking.
Yeah, I think with Metabonding starting off now, it's going to be super interesting for the next couple of months. This is just another add-on to the Maiar Exchange. We have Meta staking already with holoride, and it's about adding liquidity to the Maiar Exchange, and there are options also to create liquidity pools. And now having the Metabonding program as an opportunity, not only for smaller projects to join the probably strongest community in the crypto space, because I believe that's what we have at Elrond. I think with the Metabonding program, both the long-term holders and also the DeFi experts that are going to use all the mechanics that we have on the Maiar Exchange will have a lot of profit on this one. It's now starting off with 4 projects, and I think in the first 12 hours, more than $100 million have been put on the Metabonding smart contract already. I can tell you from my personal experience, since we at Istari, we're a project developer. Yeah, we are incubating projects such as holoride. We have a few more that we are supporting and advising. And of course, Metabonding is a topic we are discussing more or less on a daily basis. And having projects in the Metabonding program or bringing them to the Metabonding program has lots of advantages. It's not only about the listing on the Maiar Exchange. In addition to that, it's also the listing in the Maiar app. So for your smartphone in the Maiar app, the Metabonding partners are getting listed there directly, meaning they have access to fiat on-ramps. So via the existing payment processors in the Maiar app, everybody is able to buy the ESDT of the Metabonding project directly. And as I said in the beginning, the community is key. And we have the strongest community at Elrond in the whole blockchain space, in my opinion. And that's through Elrond, what we've built in the last couple of years, very strong partners that are supporting this. And yeah, Michael, you and your brother, you're also doing a great job here by educating communities. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages that we have at Elrond. And by delivering more and more applications and providing opportunities to the community, that's key for success.
There's been another big announcement last year made by the Elrond Network, which is the acquisition of Utrust, the payment solution. Michael, what are your hopes and wishes for the future collaboration of Utrust and the Elrond Network?
Yeah, so Elrond and Utrust, the collaboration can completely, from my perspective, change the exploitive practices implemented by the current merchant account offerings. So this isn't simply an improvement, but a revolution. Imagine paying for an essential service and the impact it makes to the viability of your business, but then waking up one morning and instead of having to pay for the service, you are getting paid. This is revolutionary. Merchants no longer get exploited, but now are being rewarded. As a business, you go from having headwinds to your survivability to having tailwinds pushing you to new heights. Think of PayPal, Stripe, Square. PayPal has a market cap of 122 billion. Stripe has one of 95 billion. Square 64.8 billion. Do you think merchants will want to pay or get paid? It's an easy answer. The demand will be insane because this is the way every merchant wants to be treated. The collaboration with Elrond and Utrust will offer so many new unique services for accepting payment processing and crypto-related technologies. It's going to open a whole new paradigm of services. This collaboration is really exciting. Everyone can be part of the value and share this growth.
Wolfgang, for you personally, what would be an ideal merchant to accept payments with eGold? What would be the best solution for you?
Well, there is no ideal one. We are here to get them all, in my opinion. Fun fact: by accident, we've been to the Elrond headquarter in January, presenting and discussing our new project. Maybe some have already heard. Titan Stake and Istari Vision is partnering, and we are building Entity, which is right now in the alpha version. And during a work week with the Elrond team, we've met the Utrust team in CBU. So they've been there. I guess most of the community remember the town hall with Utrust when Danny was providing liquidity to Sanja. It was quite hot in that room and he was bringing her some water. That's how the water token was created. So definitely a fun fact to remember. But the team is great. I mean, they've built already some amazing things, and we are now at the stage where they've reworked the tokenomics together with Elrond. They are getting integrated into the team, and they are now moving on in a new direction, more or less, the Elrond way. And what they have accomplished so far, amazing. What they will accomplish in the next couple months and years, nobody can think of. But I'm super excited.
Michael, do you have some merchant that you would like to accept eGold as a payment?
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat as Wolfgang in that, I'm excited to see them accepted everywhere. Obviously, when you think of big companies, especially in the US, for the content creators community, Etsy has a lot of content creators, artists, and people. So I think it would be cool for them to accept eGold and for people to become aware of all the benefits that the Elrond Network has to offer. But yeah, I mean, I think as more and more merchants accept it, it's not only going to be great for us, but great for everybody else that accepts it, because people will want to accept eGold as the value is built into the token and the adoption and the usage.
And then lastly, we have Twispay. And with regards to the Elrond credit card, which Benjamin has already touched on in the town hall meeting, where do you see Elrond at the end of this year in terms of the real life adoption?
Yeah, so with the acquisition of Twispay, this definitely puts Elrond Network in such a unique position. I touched earlier on neobanks, but neobanks are the super apps of financial services. And yet with all the current neobanks, still they use centralized ways of holding the user's finances or value. And Elrond Network is going to use neobank with blockchain, and the user will have 100% control over their finances. And this is going to be industry leading transparency plus speed plus services. And also the aspect of it being 24/7 can't be understated, as most places in the world, banks are closed on Sundays, sometimes Saturdays too. And neobanks are the future, but Elrond with the blockchain creates a neobank in a class of its own. And the other aspect of the acquisition of Twispay is you have a financial institution that's licensed to provide payment services and issue electronic money, or also known as e-money, with the aspect of Visa and MasterCards. So bridging traditional finance and blockchain is the key to bridging the digital world with the real world economy. This enables Elrond to operate within the European Union, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. With e-money license, Elrond can also issue stablecoins, paving the way for seamless on-ramps and off-ramps, plus new blockchain utility at scale that's non-custodial and sticks to the ethos of crypto. And the world hasn't had the ability to experience this on any other blockchain. So Elrond plus Maiar is really building a financial world of DeFi plus NFTs plus a super app of financial services. And soon the world will discover this, and it will be truly transformative for money and society in parallel.
Well, Twispay is another piece of the puzzle that is inserted into the big picture of Elrond. Elrond not only has a vision, but clearly has a master plan. Many don't see it yet, but it's our job to inform and educate the community about it. What I'm most excited of is that I do not know the master plan. We can, of course, in discussions and meetings, we can sometimes get some, maybe an idea, let's say it like this, maybe an idea of what they are working on and what they are trying to accomplish. What we definitely know is that they are absolute pioneers, and their team is on fire day and night. And all the partners, everybody, like what I've seen with the Utrust guys while they were in CBU, they are so integrated to the team within such a short period of time. It's crazy, and that's what you need. That's something you do not see in the real world. I mean, we are now a startup. Elrond was a startup a couple of years ago, and we are with them on the journey since quite a while. But I've never seen a company working like that. It's incredible.
And then one last question, which hasn't been on the schedule for today's interview, but I'd like to throw the both of you into the cold water. Michael, you've heard of Entity, the new project that Wolfgang has already touched on, which we are currently doing together with the guys by Titan Stake, another staking provider within the Elrond Network. Do you have some question that you would like to ask Wolfgang about Entity?
Yeah, so actually I was just looking into it before we got on here, and it's fascinating. Are you guys going to support, or what was the challenge in supporting, tax reports prior to 2022?
Well, now in the alpha version of Entity, we're just providing data from this year because there are some economics behind the whole platform, and we're trying to provide dashboards and analytics tools for the community. That's our vision, to make life easier, because not everybody, as we are 24/7 in front of the screen and checking out what's going on in the network and so on. Most of the community, I think, they just have a couple minutes, maybe half an hour a day, where they are checking their finances, more or less. A lot of crypto investors, they just buy and hold, and they are not the typical traders. They maybe do not fully understand the DeFi mechanics, which brings us back to the education. But I think with those power tools that we are building, we can support the community a lot. Tax tools is, of course, one of them. Being in Europe, that's quite a hot topic, definitely. And but there are many more tools to come. We have now 4 modules live, and beta version will be coming soon. I think there is no final end stage of how many modules we are going to have. I can tell you it will be more than 10. But the interesting part is that there will be one core module, and the tools that we are now sharing during alpha and beta version will be accompanying this. So there is a vision, it's a big puzzle, and these modules are parts of it. So stay tuned. It's so crazy. We've thought of hackathons. We've thought of building educational platforms, like really talking to universities to offer lessons really to youngsters, like starting at school already, telling them about how financial systems work. what opportunities we have now with the blockchain in the decentralized system, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's about resources.
Yeah.
And I can only echo Lucian. He's always telling me, build like you have unlimited resources. And now we're actually growing even faster than Elrond, I can tell you.
Yeah, that's
There are
great.
about 100 employees now,
Yeah.
Elrond, and his goal was actually to have one new employee per week, 52 in a year.
Wow.
And we've started this Istari Vision in 2021 with Chris and me, and the first 2 employees started a year ago, so we were 4 in spring 2021, and now we're more than 20. And in the next 3 weeks, we have another 6 team members joining. I think until summer, middle of the year, we will be more than 30 people. We've the team for Entity now, together with the guys from Titan. We have a second team with front-end, back-end developers, project managers, UX designers, all that stuff. So many things are there, but still, the day just has 24 hours. And I'm always telling our guys here at the Istari Vision, you just have a part-time job, 12 hours a day. What are we discussing here?
Yeah.
Do
So,
more.
do you have you had any challenges getting engineering resources to do that, or have you how have you gone about solving that?
Well, we've tried many different ways. We were talking to headhunters. We were talking to people that are active in other projects. But at the end of the day, we were successful just by leveraging our network. Yeah. So the first guys we've hired, especially the developers, they brought their friends. They understood what happens here in the Elrond ecosystem and what we are trying to accomplish with Istari Vision and also with Entity. And they bring more and more people inside the team. And yeah, it's once they are here, we are always talking about benefits. There is one thing I'm telling every employee during the job interview when we're done with all the contract stuff and what they're going to do at Istari Vision or at Entity. The last thing I'm telling them is, until we talk next time, you got to prepare a wish list. I want to know exactly what you need to be happy at Istari Vision. You got to tell me, be it money, be it vacations, spare time, any special hardware, any equipment, whatever you need. I mean, we're talking about so many benefits that we can offer. Plus, on top, I think they have a dedicated team. They can get to the next level by learning a lot of new stuff, and we are opening doors for them. We are putting them inside the team, opening doors, providing them a network, showing them not only how Elrond works, but how building an ecosystem works, how creating value works.
And of course, I feel the same way when I found Elrond. It's hard to sum up in any amount of words because it just plays on a synergistic level of aspects that deeply touch, I think, what humanity aspires to be at our deepest, profound levels. And how can you not wake up every day and be excited, even though the risks are high and the challenges are high and there's a lot of hurdles. It's like it is so worth it to keep pushing for it, because not pushing for it will always leave you wondering what could be. How did you discover Elrond, Wolfgang?
So with Chris, I was working with him at the same company more than 10 years ago, and we both left the company, and he was working at another IT company. I was working at another security company, surveillance and all that stuff. That was my business in the past. And in his new IT company, he was colleague with Lucian. He was living here in Germany, and they were both working at the same company. So one evening we met for a drink, and so what are you talking about? Yeah, what are you doing? And then it all started with the crypto talk, the typical crypto talk 5 years ago, 2017. What a time. It was a crazy time, definitely. But back then, nobody thought of Elrond. Yeah, it was the Ethereum time, it was the ICO time, lots of projects, lots of ideas, very, very high risks and exit scams and whatsoever. It was crazy. So we've seen the problems there, and back then the let's say the core team of Elrond that did not exist back then, they have created ICO market data. And ICO market data was a research platform. So we have used our spare time next to the job, and we were researching all these projects. Back then, Status, Sentiment, Matrix, Civic, just to mention a few. And we were rating those projects and publishing the data, building a community, sharing the information, and of course, also investing in the gem projects back then. And I think that's how Elrond finally started.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. So how are you feeling about everything and where everything is at currently, and I guess where it's going? Do you know, with your experience in the 2017, like what are your feelings around, do you feel excited? Are you like curious or I guess nervous about some of the landmines that you've seen people walk into in the past, or you know, what is your feelings?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are many of those landmines out there. But for us, as I said several times, it's about education and how we've built Elrond, and it all started, as I said, at ICO Market Data. We've built a community, we've shared our knowledge, and then we have created Elrond, and we have built the community, and we've again shared the knowledge, and we've made it even bigger in all the different countries. There are so many communities, Spanish speaking, Russian, Chinese, all over the world we have communities, and in all these different countries we have partners, and all these partners are now becoming builders. There are new projects, and there are projects from other chains. There are projects that didn't even touch the crypto space yet, and we are onboarding them, such as holoride. And there are way more in the future. The exciting thing, I believe, is that how to manage to get enough resources. That's super exciting, because we see so many opportunities, and we are trying to prioritize these opportunities and trying to make the best out of it. But at the end of the day, it's, as you said before, about creating value for the community, making their life easier. And that's how we can hopefully drive mass adoption.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of innovative things that we can do on the education front, especially for developers and developer resources. And I think if we tackle it in the same way that Elrond tackled, you know, the friction points for getting onboarded with crypto, I think, you know, there's going to be an ongoing challenge of engineering resource. I think for a long time. And so the best way around that is to basically teach the future, and grow it. Those that are interested. And of course, engineering has its own steep learning curve. And, Rust is got its own learning curve, and then smart contract development, and then front end development. But all those are like easily solvable. And if we can reduce the friction and the pain points as low as possible, while also encouraging people to share in that value of the educational content they create, I think we can really create a unique community and an ongoing one where people will want to create educational resources, not just to post on YouTube and whatnot, but like even possibly tipping those educational content and making it seamless through Maiar and different aspects there. Because the more we can create the future and less be reliant on the constraints that we currently have, I think it'll blaze our own path versus just being a victim to the constraints. Because it is, you see engineering resources in just traditional software is a challenge now. And if you now add in blockchain and Web 3.0 and then still managing these old software, like there's always going to be one. And our biggest goal is to make sure people understand it's not just a good idea to build on Elrond because it's a highly scalable architecture, but it's because it has the values and the ethos that will generate a long-term ecosystem and community that will support the project. So did you guys, have you been able to mimic some of the processes that the Elrond team has for their development into what you guys are doing? Have you found that helpful, or is it
less? Yes. It's we're trying to build for entity, and also the teams at Istari, we're trying to build squads. And the entity team is complete yet, and the good thing, of course, is also we have support from Elrond. There is always somebody that answers a question. Sometimes it's a matter of missing documentation or something. It's not that easy, especially with people that are completely new to the space. I mean, we've not only hired blockchain experts. Yeah, it's a standard developer, let's say. Yeah, a standard developer. But I can tell you, I've heard a story from Lucian. He's hired a guy, and everybody is put in a challenge to get onboarded. And one of these guys, he learned Rust within a week from scratch. He never worked with Rust before, and he had really tough challenge. I think what did he say? They've created. There was a smart contract and a built-in bug, and his challenge was to exploit it. And he had no clue of Rust before, and he did it within a week.
Wow, that's great.
It's awesome what these guys are doing.
Yeah, that is really incredible. I mean, getting more people like that, and it's a unique scenario when you got the passion and the excitement of what you can build, and you have to have a reason to, because Rust in itself is just, another language, and yet, it does have its own challenges, but it's amazing that he was able to get up to speed that fast. And, it sounds like the team is very cohesive, and that is, I've seen a lot of talented engineers, and, being talented is one thing, but having a group of cohesive, talented engineers is a whole different game. And that's the thing is, in following it, to me, I just tried to observe like certain ingredients that are necessary. And, it's not that I didn't look at Ethereum. For me, it was like, well, it's more of an MVP. It's a cool project. You tinker with it. You see some use cases. but I'm not going to spend a bunch of my time because it literally has negative feedback loop. If I build a product that a lot of people use, well, a lot of people aren't going to be using it really soon because, the gas fees jump up as adoption improves. And so you don't want a negative feedback loop. And, that's obviously, you're not going to get there very easily. And the type of people that do participate, if there's so much technical hurdle, is very different. And I think Elrond is bringing in people to the crypto space that have never been or never would be, not because they don't like Ethereum or any other blockchain. It's just that, just like anybody else didn't want to type in the IP address to go to a website when the internet was first around, they would go, type in the hero address. And so these synergistic pieces that we're getting to is just going to light a level of growth that I feel like very few, and I'm sure we're all not even prepared for on some levels, because it can grow in so many different ways. And of course, Utrust, Twispay are the most obvious, but I think there's still opportunity for, you think about fans and celebrities and how people, work with social media. I mean, one really big influencer building high quality, arts or just memberships as NFTs and unique experiences, brings them in and just, increases the value for everybody. And even when I was mentioning the neobank, that's just one area, but it's like Nubank has 48 million customers. And, if you go back to 2016, I think it had 1.3 million customers. So it's like interesting. You have about like 1.4 million Elrond wallets. I think that the exponential growth, because of all the pieces in the foundation, will be the fastest that anybody has seen, because they have really thought about the barriers and they poured all their energy into building that foundation. And you have the right foundation, everything else just seems like the wind is at your back. Like it's not just that, it is better. It is leaps and bounds better to run a project on there. And so it's like, but to get to that point, it just takes so much effort. Like, I just look at PayPal. It's like, well, PayPal can't just build a public utility overnight. It took years and like relentless pieces. And by the time they could ever assemble something, could they do it from that right, ethos and psychology? And the answer is no, like they couldn't. They could try, but in just the same way as like Apple, like could Apple launch its own public blockchain, or Google? It's like, yeah, but it's like they're going to have to offer all the same value benefits that Elrond is, and do it as well, if not better than Elrond. And the answer is like, could they? Sure. And that's the thing. It's like the market is so large, it doesn't even matter if there's multiple blockchains. There's so much room. There is insane amount of room that if that blockchain executes and provides all the ingredients and pieces, they're going to thrive. And demand will be just a challenge. And yeah, it's like you said, it's exciting to see all these projects. It's, almost like a global Silicon Valley, if you use that term, because all engineers coming together. And I feel like, a lot of the software companies have been hijacked by greedy finance people and closed walls and like exclusive pieces. And, this just changes that value share, where the values in the people, the users and the builders and the communities. And it's going to become like the basis. It's not even just a competitive advantage. It's like essential for you to have a thriving piece of software in the, decade to come. And you have to have everybody have access to it. Otherwise, it's just more walled gardens and you just have a bunch of geeks in there. And you want as many diversity of minds on your blockchain, because that's what's going to make it thrive.
Yeah, fully agree. But my dream, my vision, think about one huge meta chain, thinking about a final stage of like the end level of interoperability, connecting all these different ecosystems that are already existing out there, giving them the opportunities to connect to each other.
Yeah.
Because there is no big difference at the end of the day. I mean, if people are able to learn Rust within a week, a Solidity dev should be able to switch to Elrond within a very short period of time as well.
Yeah.
The question is, what are the arguments to convince them to do so? Because developers are the resources we need.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because demand is huge.
Yeah, I know. The thing is, though, like, I hear that argument of like, oh, Solidity, but here's the reality: is like ETH 2.0 is building a sharded architecture, right? Everyone wants to talk about that, but nobody wants to talk about all the technical debt, and they have had to postpone. You can't utilize a sharded architecture with a virtual machine without deeply upgrading that virtual machine, the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine. And so it's not even a question of developers, hey, do you want to build on do you want to build with Rust? It's like, do you want to build for the future that's going to be actually useful, or do you want to build on an OS that's not going to be relevant? It's like BlackBerry. Are you going to build for BlackBerry, or are you going to build for Apple? And yeah, Apple is open source and Apple is for the community. And so it'll become very clear and apparent that the technical debt, because once ETH 2.0 just gets to the sharded architecture, they won't have the tools to then have a virtual machine, because Solidity and the EVM won't be upgraded. Then you have to wait till that's upgraded, and then you have to prove that out. And it's like, I'm a fan. I want them to do well and I want them to succeed, and they can. But objectively looking, the technical debt is just insane. I know Benny and the team's seen this, and that's why they created Elrond and wanted to really push it forward. But I don't think we'll have to convince engineers once it becomes very clear. But right now it's like we're in that really tough spot where a lot of the hoop and hype and holla, of like people talking is really dated, because they're just missing the substance and objectively looking at it. And I think it just comes down to like, we haven't really had such a early industry tied to people all having a financial stake in it. And so tribalism is very blinding. It's in all of us humans, but it's keeping people, the knowledge gap. Like, there's really good engineers, but they have very little idea of economics. Or there's really good engineers and they have very little idea of UI, UX, and user experience. And so you have this knowledge gap is so large that you can get these blinders that people are focused on the wrong things. And I think even Benny and the team has been surprised as to why so many people are still talking about it. And I think it's just, that's the state of where we are. I mean, at one point, everybody was talking about on the iPhone, the latest fart app. It was just like, that was the state of application. And a lot of the applications on Web3 or whatever you want to call it are proof of concept, minimal viable products. They're not really that useful yet. But as we transition into much more mature software, much more use cases, it'll become so clear and apparent, oh, this is how you build incredible value and you get access all my users can.